Hello loves, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time clicking on this video, my name is Mufaro and we are the Monday Makers. We are a family of movers and shakers. We are goal setters and we are goal crushers. We believe in making our Mondays because we know that Mondays set the tone for the weeks become months, and the months become years, and they ultimately make up our lives. And so we do so by having an open, constructive, and transparent conversation every Monday. We talk about business, we talk about faith, we talk about life, and everything that is in between. So if this is the kind of family that you are looking to join, then hey, hit that subscribe button. And to my Monday makers, my movers, my shakers, my goal setters, my goal crushers, welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on another video. Thank you for coming back home. So without taking too much time, welcome to the month of December. Welcome to a new month. This video was supposed to have gone up on Monday, but unfortunately it couldn't, and so it is taking place today. So we are in the month of December. Now I know that December is a tricky time. People are in different spaces. For others, it's a time of celebration. You are celebrating that of everything that I set out to do this year, I've managed to accomplish it. And if that is the space that you are in, kudos to you. We are glad for you as your family. We celebrate you and we celebrate with you that well done for having accomplished everything that you wrote down. There's no feeling like seeing like what you wrote on paper coming to life and having a physical manifestation. Or maybe you're finding yourself in the middle or the other end of the spectrum where you are just like Mufaro. My year has gone from west to west, south to west east. It has gone from west to west, south to west east because wow, I was not prepared. Things have not gone the way I planned. Nothing has materialized. Nothing has happened. But I do hope after our pep talk today that you will be in a different space and you'll be able to put your head up, chin up, and let us finish the year strong, right? So our anchoring scripture from today comes from the book of Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. And it reads, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I love another version which says, I can do all things through Christ, who gives me power. And now when we're talking about all things, we're not meaning reckless things, we're not meaning self-serving things, but we are meaning things that are in accordance to the purpose that God has over your life. And most of the times we think that those things should be easy, but it's not always the case. A lot of the things that he calls us to do are hard. When you look at the life of Apostle Paul, he is a man who experienced a lot of hardship. And yet you have him coming to write that I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. I can do all things through Christ, who gives me power. I can go to regions and places where I'm unwanted and still preach the gospel. Why? Because I have someone who is giving me power. You know, when you think about that verse, it should make you stop and think that where have you been getting your power? What has your source of power been for the year so far? Have you relied on yourself? Have you relied on your own strength? Remember, you are not accomplishing your own tasks. You're accomplishing tasks that he sent you to do. This life that we are living, he sent you here to live it. It was not a mistake. You didn't just slip out of the basket and make it here on earth. No, he sent you here with a purpose in mind. And it might get hard and you are thinking, this is really, really difficult. This is challenging. But Apostle Paul is giving us something we can tap into. You are looking and saying, Mufaro, I have got so many things which I've not been able to do. Maybe because one, they're just too difficult. Two, maybe from planning to execution, where the way you planned it out and now when it was time to execute, you realized this is more difficult than I thought. Or maybe you just avoided through procrastination because just the thought of it, just the thought of the amount of labor required made you want to shrink back. Wherever you are finding yourself, you need to know that there is someone who is willing to give you power. There is Christ who's willing to give you power, to empower you to do all things. When I'm in the gym and I'm struggling with the workout and I'm finding it hard, I tell myself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When I'm having a challenge in my business and it's beyond me, I will remind myself and say, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. The reason why Apostle Paul is speaking about Christ is when you look at Jesus, he is our pattern man. He is our example. He is the one whose life we look at and we study and we draw a pattern from there. So when you look at the life of Jesus, you start to realize that his life was hard. It was not an easy life. 33 years of being blameless, of not living in sin. You think that by the time you are 5, you have you have a whole long list of charges against you. And yet he was sent here to die. When you're reading through the Gospels and you're reading the account of from the time that he's charged, he gets whipped, and ultimately he goes to the cross. His destination was the cross. But in all of those, at every point, he did not quit. He did not give up. He did not die there. He knew that I have to go to Calvary and die there and utter these words that it is finished. It is finished. But he didn't get to say it is finished at the whipping post. He didn't get to say it is finished while he was carrying the cross. He only said it when he was there in the right place, in the right position, and he knew that everything was done, and he said, it is finished. You know, when you look at the scenario or the scene at the whipping post, many scientific studies say that the amount of blood that Jesus lost qualified for him to die. It made sense for him to die there. And I'm speaking to someone today that by human standards, if you explain to us, we can understand. Now we can understand that it made sense to quit. It makes sense to stop there. It makes sense to pack up there and not do this thing again. But remember, you have not come here of your own accord. You have not come here of your own agenda. We are not dying at the whipping post. We are not giving up in that place. We are not packing up and putting our hopes away in that place. Even if you read that he staggered under the weight of the cross, but he kept pushing. So your assignment, your vision, you may be staggering under the weight of it, but you have to keep pushing. We don't get to end here. Yes, it's December and it may be feeling like, God, what you called me to do, I am staggering under the weight of it. I want to give up here. Can we just stop here? I can't go any further. But Apostle Paul says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me power. He is giving you power to finish. I love this verse in Philippians chapter 1, verse 6, where Apostle Paul writes, let's just head over to it right now. You need to understand that if God has sent you to do something, he plans and he knows you are going to finish that thing. Because we were made in the image and likeness of God according to Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Now in Philippians 1 verse 6 it reads, and I am convinced and sure of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you will continue until the day of Jesus Christ, right up to the time of his return, developing that good work and perfecting and bringing it to full completion in you. Even when you read the story of creation, it says when God was done creating the earth, he rested. So God is not in the business of starting things and leaving them halfway. And because we are made in his image and his likeness, he expects the same for us. He knows that if you start a task, you must be able to finish it. There is grace to complete it. And so we can tap from that grace to say, God, I started this project. I started this thing, but I'm struggling. It's getting hard. And you remember and you say, God, You are the one, you start a good thing, you bring it to completion. You have the grace of completing things. So I tap into that grace. I take advantage of that grace and I complete the things that I set my mind to doing. Yes, they're hard, but there's power to do them. Right? So when you are thinking about this, and maybe you're there and you're saying, listen, Varo, please. I don't need this right now. I'm struggling. I can't do it. I don't have the desire anymore. I've lost the power to do it. There's a scripture. It's so funny how all our scriptures today are coming from the book of Philippians. And I don't think that it's a mistake. I believe that God has a reason why they're all just coming from the book of Philippians. And so we find it in Philippians chapter 2, verse 13. Not in your own strength, for it is God who is all the while effectually at work in you, energizing and creating in you the power and desire to both to will and to work for his good pleasure and satisfaction and delight. Did you hear that? It is not in your own strength. He's not expecting you to complete everything in your own strength. Be that you're a mother, you're a working professional, you're a student, you're an entrepreneur, whatever the case is. He's saying, not in your own strength. God is effectually working in you. Imagine, to create power and desire. For most of us, the mood that you made that commitment in has long since passed. By the time we are reaching the halfway mark, you are ready to throw the towel in. But when we remember and reflect on this verse where God is saying, I am the one effectually working in you to give you not just desire, because desire can run out, but I'm also going to couple desire with power so that they move hand in hand together and you can accomplish the things that I have sent you to do. I don't know about you, but that makes me excited to finish off my 2023. Head up, chin up. We can finish strong. Why? Because we have power. Christ has given us power. He who began a good work in us, he's going to bring it to completion. The plans that he has over our life, they are going to be brought to completion. When you wrote that vision, Habakkuk speaks about, Habakkuk 2 verse 3 says, write down the vision and make it plain, that he who reads it may run. It means that this may be time for you to go back. Look at that vision board, because it says, as long as it is written down, the one who reads it, it causes him to move. It causes movement. It causes you to run. So there's a need to go back and look and think and say, okay, I made this commitment. I made this goal. I now have power. I now have desire to do it. And while we are on that note, I want to point out something, that even as we are gearing towards 2024, I'm a firm believer of don't waste your experience, whether good, whether bad. Use it as the building blocks to improve your planning. Use it as the building blocks as you are now thinking of 2024. We don't start to plan 2024 when we're in January. No, December is conception month. This is the time to take your pen, you take your notebook, you begin to think, what do I want my 2024 to look like? And because you have experience from 2023, you've seen what worked, what didn't work. Was my goal realistic to be achieved in a year? Because sometimes it's the case that this cannot happen in a year. It maybe will manifest in 2 years. But this is where you now need to make sure that we are not leaning on our own understanding. Sometimes what is frustrating us at the end of the year is that we made plans without God. We trusted in ourselves. We gauged and we said, 2023, I can do this. And now you're at the end of the year and you are in the pits. Why? Because you planned on your own. You left him out of the process. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 says, lean not on your own understanding. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will make your crooked path straight. I love that part because it means that the path is yours, but it says that it's crooked. So when we are planning and we're doing all these things, it looks like, I might see it, but guess what? You can't see the paths that are crooked. You can't see the faults in your own plan. But when you invite him on board and you sit down and say, God, we are planning for our 2024. What are we doing? Where are we going? What should our hands be on? Where should our feet be going? Who should we be interacting with? What should our eyes be on? What's the prize for 2024? And it says, when you acknowledge him, he will make your path straight. And after we acknowledge him, after we plan with him, we give him our plan. Proverbs 16 verse 3 says, commit your plans to the Lord and they will be established. So we commit them back to him and we say, Lord, this is the plan. This is what we want to do. And it says he will establish them. And then the third thing that we are going to do after we have planned with God, we commit to God. The third thing is give him room. Give him room to surprise you. Give him room to change your plans. Because Jeremiah 29 and 11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. So it means that God's plan always is for our benefit. It always ends in hope, and it is guaranteed of a future. So as you are thinking of your 2024, give him room. Allow him to surprise you. When I tell you the things that I had planned for my 2023, the way that I thought it was going to go, you would have seen in the next vlog that we finally managed to retrieve our lost vlog. You know, my paper being submitted, it being accepted, me having the opportunity to go and present it. I didn't plan that. It wasn't even on my agenda. Even last year when I think of the cybersecurity challenge, imagine an all expenses paid trip. It wasn't on my agenda. It wasn't on my plans, but to say, give God room, allow him to surprise you. Otherwise, we have reached the end of our video. I pray that may your month be blessed. I pray that may you receive not just power, but there is desire to do those things. There is the grace to complete. There is the grace to finish. And remember that there is Christ who is looking to give you power. Otherwise, from me to you, see you in our next video.